Hello again, everybody. It's Harry Boxer, the Tactical Trader at thetechtrader.com. It's Saturday morning, the 10th of September. That's my sister's birthday. I'm going to have to give her a call. Folks, this is obviously an important point in the market. We've had a nice rally off the low, off the pullback lows anyway. I'm going to show you some things today that are quite interesting. But my feeling is that we have some real testing to do just ahead of us. And then we'll see where the markets are. But there's a lot of individual charts that look pretty good. We'll go over them today, both long and short. But for now, a quick look at the S&P 500. You can see that we went from there to there and back down there, and that's about a 50% retrace. This week's low was 38.86, and we closed at 406.7, about 180 points off the low in about the last three sessions. Substantial bounce. We're back above the 50 on a closing basis. That's a good thing. Right now, the way I should see it, it's about 40.30 on the S&P 500 50-day moving average. We're about 37 points above it. The NASDAQ 100 also bounced, of course. This too, nearly a 50% retrace of the entire move from there to there, back down to there. Near support and a bounce. But where it closed, 12,579 roughly is the 50-day, and it closed at 12,588. 11 points above it, just barely. And you'll also notice that there's a declining tops line, and there's moving averages crossing over all in this area. This is key. If we blow through that, we can get a big squeeze to the upside. Let me show you the S&P. Same thing. The S&P closed above it, but at the declining tops line as well. So it's hard to say, even though we had a breakout of this trading range on the S&P. The NVDA they're right at resistance. Key level, I would say, very, very key level early next week to be tested and or taken out. Small caps, same thing. About a 50% retrace back to test this area where the breakout was in mid-July, and then a nice bounce. And so the IWM go from 177.5 to close 187.5, roughly at 10 points. And at resistance near several of the technicals, declining tops line, lateral price resistance, right at the 21-day moving average, a little bit above it. You can see that this one closed substantially above 50 and actually gapped above it, a good sign. What about the transportation stocks? They bounced, but Thursday was a tough day for them. Friday it did pop 2.44%, but it's right at resistance as well. There's moving averages crossing over, there's lateral price resistance, and the way I've looked at the parallel declining channel, that's resistance as well. So on Monday, we could see a pop and run or a drop and a real deep pullback. This is kind of very, very key time for the market. No question about it. Let's look at the underlying technicals. Well, certainly I noted during the week that the McClellan oscillator was steeply oversold, more steeply oversold than any time since the January pullback. I got it down at 274. Now, obviously, in March of 2000, they got it way down here at minus 289. So either way, if you look at the bottoms on most of these markets where the oscillators bottomed, they were down below 200, 210, 250, and we got down to 247. But look at this bounce. Now, usually coming off of a low, the oscillators are going to explode like that, which they did there and there and there. So I'm looking for more upside to get it into the plus 150, 60, 70, 80 range, maybe plus 200 at some point. So I think unless this thing stops dead in its tracks right here, there's a possibility we pull back for a day or two. If it's gentle enough, we're going higher. Market climbs all are worried, folks, and it's doing it again. You've heard me say that a million times. What about the VIX? Pretty amazing to me that the VIX never got above 2790, didn't even get to 28. While in the past, drops, the VIX ran up to the 35, 38 range, at least, if not higher, up here. So this is probably a good sign that at least at this point, there's some confidence in the smart circles of Wall Street, in my opinion. We'll see percentage of stocks above their 40 dramatically increased from about 24%, nearly doubling to 46%. So almost half the stocks are above their 40 and rebounding. So that's a look at the technicals. I like to look at some of the components, of course, and look at Apple, for example. And I want to point out that this is almost a perfect 50% Fibonacci retracement, and it did it right to the prior high here. I think 152-ish, 151, 152 is major support. Thursday's low in Apple, if violated, will have a really negative effect on this market, folks. You can see Apple go down at least 146.7 and maybe even lower than that. But if you're optimistic enough and you're looking at this as a massive left shoulder, head, right shoulder, look at the possibilities of this being a bottoming pattern on Apple. That's a tough call. We shall see. Have a good day Friday on Apple, up a couple percent, 290. We'll see if that is meaningful enough. The key in Apple now is going to be the 162.64 zone. You get through that, we're in basic rally mode. What's Amazon doing? Also, from there to there and back down to there, not only is it a 50% retrace, not only is it a test of the trend line, not only is it a test of the 50, it's also a fill of the gap. So this is the perfect scenario for Amazon for a 1-2. If we get 3, you're looking at a retest of 145 and then a run up into the 155.60 range. That would really cement a rally for the market, but there is major resistance at 146.5. Some minor resistance that resists at 137.5. So those are numbers to watch next week for Amazon, and certainly big support, 123.5. Anything below that, and we're in a bear phase. Google has been a laggard, and as you can see, not only did it just get to the declining top sign, even though it made a lateral breakout there, it did not take out this level, which I thought was key also. There's a double bottom here, and there's a double top there. It got right up to it, and the declining top sign, it failed, and had to retest the lows before bouncing. Now, it was up a couple percent Friday, but I'm not impressed with Google unless this turns out to be a massive basing pattern. We shall see. Microsoft was weak, and it did bounce for a couple of days, but that was a much bigger retrace than I wanted to see. And Microsoft been a little tough because it took out the declining top line, got up to lateral resistance and failed miserably. But there was a nice bounce on Friday for almost 6 points. Stay tuned. We're going to see what Microsoft does and how that affects things. NVIDIA has been one of the, along with Meta, NVIDIA has been one of the weaker stocks in the NASDAQ 100. Having gone from last November's high of 346 to, believe it or not, 133. Lost 216 points, folks. Big drop in a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave move. Now, I'm not sure this is the bottom of the 5th wave. It could be. There was a volume spike here that says it could be a selling climax, including a gap. So this is the kind of scenario you look for on a stock that has come down at 5 waves and gets a selling climax to the lows with big volume. But need to see if this thing is going to accelerate. And there's a mid-channel line that it's at right now that could be some resistance. Netflix is doing well, considering it was the worst here of all the stocks in the NASDAQ 100, having dropped from 700, I kid you not, to 162. It lost, 70% of its value. Pretty amazing. But over a period of a couple of months, it based, broke out, ran up to the gap, and backed off. Look at this pattern, nice orderly retrace, and Friday stuck its head out. Now, is that a breakout? I can't tell yet. The real breakout comes over 237. You get above that, then you probably headed to 250, 65, 75, whatever. Bottom line is Netflix could be a surprise positive component of the NASDAQ 100. Now, Meta, only late in the week did it start to look better. And look at the multiple tests of this low in a 154 range. Once, twice, 3, 4, 5, 6 times. Either this is a massive bear flag in a 1, 2, 3, 4 wave decline looking for a 5th, or we're done and it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 waves down at a base. That's possible too. I'm not sure of the count, but I can tell you this: if it gets above 184, you're on your way, and that would really help the market. Watch for that one. Support 154.5, resistance 180.45. Tesla, nice recovery late in the week. Certainly came down to test this level where these two rally peaks held, and then also looking at it this way, perhaps the bottom of the channel of a new rising uptrend in Tesla. Take a look at that. Now Tesla came up to the declining top line. If this gets through here and takes out 315, you're looking at 350, 55 or more. Obviously, any move and rollover on Tesla that takes this low out will contribute to a bear market, if there is one. Well, we've already been in one. This is always a possibility. 1, 2, 3, 4, and if we fail, we roll over, and then Tesla gets slam dunked. But it might have only be a three-wave corrective in a larger uptrend. Now, this is possibly a massive top formation. Under no circumstances do you want Tesla to break down under 215 to 210.15. Could really send this one reeling. But right now, it doesn't look like that. It looks like just the opposite. But let's look at the NASDAQ 100 components, most of the important ones anyway. And so let's delve into some of the ETFs we follow closely. Semiconductors, are they leading or lagging? Well, based on its bounce, I wouldn't actually say they're leading, but they did bounce for 3 days, barely. Semiconductors were in a pretty bad retracement. This retracement was about a 75% retracement. And now the bounce is somewhat weak with lower volume. I'm not overly impressed with the SMH, not yet. Although Friday was a good day, it was up 2.5%. Financials, they also bounced, and they bounced much better in that from a 3 day support lows in a 67 range, which is about a 0.618 fib retracement from below there to there and back down to there. But take a look at the lateral price support in that zone. I'm not surprised it bounced. Now, your objective is to extend and test 84 range. If you get above that, we're in a bull phase. Right now, the jury's still out, but it did break out above resistance Friday. And of course, the group I like best always have is biotechs, starting with the XBI, which is a regular ETF, not a double or triple like the LABU. I'll get to that in a moment. But you can see coming off a double bottom, the XBI ran from 62 to 86, 24 points, pulled back and tested, and popped again. So in essence, from here, it's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then a pullback. So overall, if you look at it this way, which I do, this is a massive wave 1 and wave 2. If wave 3 is starting, we at least are going to see 95 and then 105. How does that look on the LABU? One of the reasons why I'm so excited about LABU, number one, it's gone from 184 down to 4, okay, which isn't anything in and of itself. But I will say this, being a triple, it sure has volatility intraday, and it's a beautiful trading stop. LABU has gone from 406 to 13. Let's just say it went up 9 points. From 13, it pulled back to under 8, about 5 points. About a 0.618 fib retracement. But it did hold the pullback lows at 770.72. The low on Wednesday, 783. This is a key support level. Now, we did break the declining tops line and got above the moving average and closed positively. I'm looking forward to LABU as early as Monday being 11 and a quarter or more. During the week, it might advance to 13 or better, depending on the market, of course. If it doesn't, if it rolls over, the retest down there is going to be critical. And let's look at the ETFs that I follow closely for the main ones, but there's also important for us to look at gold, silver, and oil today. Let's look at oil for starters. The USO, this is still what I consider a massive head and shoulders. Take a look. Left shoulder, head, and right shoulder. It actually technically broke down to the support lows from March to pullback low, which was 67.73. The low this week, 67.65. How about that? Right there, or 59. So we're right at that level, and it bounced. Any break, in my opinion, of the USO below that level, and we're in a major oil bear market. Now, I don't know if that's the case, but certainly a lot of things could happen to trigger that. The keys to watch are the moving averages around 74, and then the double, triple top resistance around 79.80. That would determine where we're headed, in my opinion. That's USO. Looking at the GUSH, a lot different. Of course, it's a double. It's got a 1, 2, 3, 4 wave move. The top came right there to what I consider potentially a shoulder line, although it's a very sloppy pattern. GUSH has not broken any major trend, although it really got a slam dunk, didn't it? From 244 all the way down to 153, losing like 95 points. Rally back, took about a point, 618 fib retracement back, and now it's pulled back. 100% stop on a 150.51 for GUSH. The target would be a retest of the 200 range, and then we'll see where it goes from there. That's the oil sector. Gold. Folks, I do want to point out that I told you I've not been a proponent of gold or any precious metal stock for 5-6 months now, and you can see why. Big breakdown, 1, 2 flag, 3, 4 flag, 5. Now, I'm not sure if this is over yet. It looks like a 1, 2, 3. This could be 4, and we could get a 5th wave. But if this is the bottoming pattern, and it has gone from 41 to 23, almost in half, and it's at multiple year lows, possibly we can get if we break out here, we should see 26, 27, 3/4, maybe 28.5, 29. But again, I'm not going to anticipate the gold. This is GDX. Looking at Nugget, NUGT, very similar, almost exactly the same. And the JNUG, which is junior golds, similar as well, but not as strong, which you would imagine you would get. So I'm watching gold and silver, and oh, by the way, here is the silver AGQ precious metal, very similar. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 waves down. This one is near some key support going back to 2020. Bottom line is they're in ugly downtrends, but they're snapping back off important levels. Keep an eye on gold and silver going forward. I'm not bullish yet, but I am looking much more optimistically about it. So that covers your gold and silver and oil. We looked at semiconductors, financials, and biotech. Let's move on to some individual stocks. We'll go with that for now. ABCL, which was a swing trade of ours when it broke out, did very well, reached the targets, and then pulled back. Keep an eye on this one. As you know, I really like the look of many biotech stocks that got crushed. This is no difference. 72 to 5.5. I know it sounds amazing, but that's an average biotech. Now, 5.5, nearly tripling to 1450. And a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave move. And then you get a 5th wave up like that, spike up, you want to sell it. Happens all the time. Look at the pullback. It's a nice orderly 5 wave pullback. And a minor breakout, not enough volume to say, yeah, this is broken back out again, but keep your eyes on this one for a move above 12, 12.25, which could yield you 14, 16, 19, etc. down the road, if in fact that's what that wants to do. Now, ADT, as you know, had a big week, massive investment by some major companies, and it broke out that day and it stalled. I would think this is a pull flag, and I think it goes higher. Keep an eye on ADT for a move to 9, and then maybe 10.25. AEHR stock we've traded a lot over the years, and especially in here. This was a big winner for us. Also here, which is a big winner for us, but it's pulled back rather dramatically. Now it bounced last week. I'm not overly optimistic on it. 13 is support, 15.75 is resistance. We'll see where this goes. AMLX. Well, what a wonderful explosive move on Thursday. A positive inside day Friday. It feels like a stock that wants to go higher. We'll see. The resistance for me and key is to get over 34. Once you do that, you're looking at high 30s, low to mid 40s. APRN, a swing trade of ours, really nice new high on Friday up 822, but it had a nasty little reversal. Now, it doesn't mean it's over. It just means it isn't ready to extend yet, but we'll see where it goes. This is a beautiful, perfect parallel channel downtrend, breakout, retest. V-bottom, right-handed extension, and explosive move to the upside. Consolidation and breakout. In essence, my targets are 9 and 12.5 if it goes. ASO, I like the V-bottom with the platform, the breakout, and the retest, and now it popped again. And looking at the overall structure of this pattern, this is going to be a new all-time high if it pops through here. So watch it carefully over 50, because if it does that and it's right at 49.5, this could be, mid 50s pretty quickly. AVDL, another biotech with a fantastic chart, check it out, but it is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave move. Now the 5th wave consolidation is always less reliable, so I'd be careful, and your stop has to be under 5.25. But if it does go again, I would say a move back up to 8 and maybe even 11.5 could be possible if it breaks out with volume. Keep an eye on ABDL. AXSM, love this chart. Exploded, popped, ran to the resistance, backed off again, breakaway gap, exploded, wedge, looks like a 1, 2, 3, 4 to me. I'm not sure if this extends a bit more before it goes, but eventually, and I'm not kidding, 80 to 85.90 is a possibility in this stock. I kid you not. BMEA, yet another biotech with a beautiful bottoming pattern and a big run from 284 all the way up to 1420, more than fourfold. But you can see the last couple of months, it's just been platforming. Is this a nice consolidation setup for more upside? It feels like it. If it does, I think you might get a test up in that zone. It was double top, the all-time highs. BMEA looks like a $20 stock potentially if it pops through 14. BORR was in a beautiful uptrend in the oil and gas group until it got rolled over hard from nearly 7 down to a low of 245. Double bottom, broke out, ran up to resistance, platform, tried to break out again once, twice, 3 times, pulled back and popped again Friday. Friday was a little breakout pop, up about 12%. Volume was strong but not heavy enough. I would say watching this stock, this is the key. Stop is under 3.5, over 450, buy it for a gap fill to at least 540, maybe as high as 6.25. Those are your targets going forward for BORR. CCJ is the leader in the uranium group. Look at this long-term chart. A stock that's gone from 5 into the 30s. Formed a large coil and broke out. Friday was a good day for it, but it didn't finish great. Let's just say this. They should take this one over 32.5. You can see a stock that runs into the high 30s, low 40s. COGT, another biotech stock with a massive move. When you get a breakout like that in a wedge, this is usually very bullish. This is this kind of stock I usually put a swing on. I missed this one. It went from 8.75 to 18, and it still looks positive in a rising flag. Target 20 and 22.3. Coupang broke out. I put a swing on it. It pulled back and formed the flag and then ran to the target. It ran to the second target and reversed hard and came down. At this point, right on the trend line, right on lateral price support, and a falling wedge, it broke out Friday. Keep an eye on this one. If the volume picks up and this goes, I'm looking for a retest somewhere around 20 or better. CPRX is a fantastic biotech stock that's making new all-time highs nearly every day in a questionable market. Look at this. Pretty amazing chart. And with this kind of momentum, we might see a stock in the high teens. Dawn, another biotech stock with a nasty decline, breakaway gap on positive news, ran up to the target at 19.5, 20, and pulled back and platformed. After picking out of the platform, it ran up to the next target around 28. It then flagged again as possibly breaking out again. Pretty impressive chart, wouldn't you say? In my opinion, and looking at the angles, this could be a $40 stock at some point. It's 25 right now. Keep an eye on Dawn. EPOW. A couple of my institutional guys are very high on this. New management, name change, a bunch of other things. But on that day, they announced that it exploded, but then pulled right back, and now coming right back again. It spiked, reversed, and they got an inside kind of wedgie type pattern forming. Here's the 15-minute chart. This is a personal position of mine. I'm pretty high on it. Looking for 4.5, 5.25, maybe 6.5. That's what they're telling me, 6, 7 range, but we'll see. What they're telling me doesn't mean it's going to happen, but here's the bottom line. It's a promising chart. Ford Motor Company, a beautiful long-term downtrend, then followed by a breakout at which point we gave you a swing. I think it was 12.75 with a target of 16.5, 17. We reached 16.68. We pulled back and from the beautiful wedge, we tried to break out Friday. I still like the overall look of this. How about this for a measured move? 6 points, which means we're looking at 21 as a target. I got a target right about in that zone up there. Eventually, we'll see if it works. For solar, how about that for power? Yeah, you know, this has been a swing of mine 3 times in the last 5 years. I'm not sure why I didn't give you a swing on this breakout. I don't believe I did. There's a beautiful flag there as well. The momentum was fabulous. This stock went from mid-July 60 to Thursday's high at 140 roughly. So, you know, more than doubled, 80 points. It's a bit short-term overbought, but folks, this is an 11-year high. There's nothing preventing this now from being 175. There's a major firm out there with a target of 172. So I'm going to say, I'd love to see a pullback entry out, but I think this stock has got as good momentum as anything. And that tells me that the whole group is on the run, and you'll see some other examples later. FUTU in the Chinese sector, put a swing on it when it broke out there. We reached target number 1 and pulled board right back for a couple of months. It popped out again. It's now flagging or wedging in this group, in this area. 42.5 should stop. Above 50, 50 and a quarter, this may be at 57.8 or more. Promising base. IFRX, it's a beautiful V bottom with a right-handed extended platform or inverse head and shoulders. Breakaway, run up to the target, falling wedge. It broke out Thursday and had a follow through Friday. Looking much better. Keep an eye on this one. I got a target at near 4. INMD breaks out. We put a swing on it, ran up to the target and pulled back. I still think it's got more to go, a lot more. Eventual target 42.3. INSE 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave decline, then a massive move up on a accretive merger. This then did a 50% retrace and held and snapped back, at which point it gave you a swing. I believe it's going back to 13.5 and then 15.75. ISEE, how about this for explosion? In a week, that's 5 sessions. $9.39 to 21, basically. We can watch this one. It's got tremendous momentum. It's extremely overbought. And it pulled back on Friday as well. Careful on this one. But any setup that's a flag type formation could lead to mid-20s. ISCC. I've just found out about this one on Friday. And it's been up for like 9 or 10 days in a row. So I'm a little more cautious in here. I'd love to, it's looks like it's been consolidating for a couple days. My next target is 10, and then 12. LNTH, I've been talking about this for a year, one of the strongest stocks on Wall Street. In November of 20, the stock was trading at 10. It's 85 right now. And it doesn't have any signs of a top. As a matter of fact, any breakout of this level, you might see 100. Well, the Bitcoin finally rallied and Mara and Raya took off. Here's Mara, a falling wedge, popped out Thursday, followed through Friday. It's at resistance here. If it breaks through, you're looking at an $18, $19 stock. MAXN in the solar group, another example of a terrific looking solar stock. Came down, V-bottomed, reversed, formed a large base over a period of months, and there's your breakout. There's your retest, there's your wedge, and there's a breakout. I'm going to say that if this one gets through the 24.5 zone, I'm looking for low 30s. Biotech, Mersana Therapeutics, long downtrend. I mean, a long downtrend. 25 to 3. Big reversal, platform, major breakout, flag. 1, 2, 3, 4. Fifth wave should get you to 10. That's my target short term. Good looking chart. MRTX, well, this is a biotech stock that had a massive move. In 2017, it was down in the $2 range. By 2020, 218. So obviously, 100-fold increase, which is amazing. What a drop. Climaxing in May with a spike down, selling climax on big volume, a big reversal. Head and shoulder, coil, breakout to resistance in this zone at the gap here, and then a pullback to retest this breakout point and forming a nice coil. Well, this is a nice looking chart. Now, I don't know if it's going to do this, but my targets are 92, 110, 129. Beautiful chart. MYOV, another beautiful biotech stock, popped off a low, consolidated breakout, came here, ran to resistance in the first target, which was at near 19, pulled back and flagged and broke out again. My next target, 24. NEO. Well, when it popped here, I put a swing on it, and it worked for a week, going from about 9 to near 13, but it's pulled back in a nice corrective move, that retesting breakout point back in here and bouncing a little bit, but something to watch. Another diagnostics research biotech type stock. And yet another is Minerva, which went pop, explosive move. Everybody thought, look at that volume, 37 million. Only a month later to trade 82 million and go vertically from 310 to 15, fivefold in a week and a half. Now the pullback and bounce on Thursday was impressive. Friday was an inside day. Keep an eye next week on this one over 11.5, 1160, because that's where I think it explodes. It's got to be careful, and it's overbought and consolidating. In the automotive group for China, NEO popped last week on a pretty good report, but it has a declining top line to contend with. The overall structure looks like a basing formation. We'll see. Nutanix broke out. I put a swing on it. I like this company. The chart is at resistance, poked its head out above it on Friday and backed off, but I'm looking for 26, 29, and 32. NVDA exploded, pulled back, and then this week was a good week for it, as it went from 263, particularly Friday when it popped to 414 on big volume. Volume Friday was 37 million. It's at resistance. We get through here, you're looking at 6.5 and 9 again. Stay tuned. Don't forget, this is a stock that traded up in the high 50s a year and a half ago. Semiconductor stock, Navitas Semiconductor. 5-wave decline. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wave 1, wave 2, wave 3, wave 4, wave 5. Double bottom breakout. Got to resistance and backed off. Now falling wedge. Keep your eye on this one. This was a swing that got too much of a retracement. I still like the overall look of it. I think it snaps back. My targets are 6 3/4 and 8 1/4. Oxy, orderly retrace to support. I don't know where oil's going. I'm not optimistic. I'm just not. But this chart in itself isn't bad. I just don't like nominal new highs followed by an immediate pullback to the trend line. If it breaks, you're probably coming down into the mid 50s. Careful. PACB. Well, long downtrend. Look at this uptrend, by the way. This was a beauty back in 2020. I know Susie remembers this one. 220 to 50 some odd, 53. I would say that's a pretty good move, 25-fold. Then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-wave decline. Base explosive move last month. In one day, saw it go from 7 3/4 to 14.20, almost doubling. Came down pretty hard in the 3-wave corrective. Nice week this week. Reversed from 507 to 717 at 40% pop, right to resistance right there. Now we get through this. Now we'll keep an eye on this one next week. I think if it pops above 715.20, you'll see 9. Pag Seguro broke out. I put a swing and immediately backed up, but it's coming on again. And you can see on Friday it popped there, jumping $1.31 or 9%. Volume was okay, not great, but I think overall a base and a nice pattern that shows a move to 22 and 28 are possible. PAYO as Payoneer Global, recent IPO from a year ago, came down, broke out, flag, pop, and now it's wedging. I'm showing you this because the overall pattern is very constructive. And when you get to this resistance zone up here, you might see a stock in the $9, $10 range. Pinduoduo, another Chinese player, I believe they are, has dropped from 212 and imploded in March to 23, believe that or not. Then V bottom, breakaway gap, three-wave corrective pullback, breakout, falling wedge, another pop, and a flag. If it should get through this resistance zone, we're looking at a stock that take off into the mid-90s, even 110 or better. Perion, I think it's set up now after multiple months of consolidation following a big run for this one to make another big move, but it's going to take out 22.5. If you see that, go for it. Then I'd look for 26 and 31. PETZ, interesting pattern. Lots of green, rising OBV, pulled back to test the moving average and bounce on Friday. Your targets are 5.25, 7, and 10. Biotech Precigen, big decline, 12 to 1. Run up a wedge or a coil. This coil broke out Friday with a pop, and that's why I'm showing it to you, gaining 12.6%, perhaps headed now to 340 and 4 or better. PHR, Fresia popped on Thursday. We did a day trade on it, but the overall structure of this one, really like the look of it. V bottom, right-handed extension, a pop and a platform and a breakout. I would think the minimum move on this one would be at least 31. That's about almost 3 points. Beyond that, you're looking at mid to high 30s. Pixie, if you can chart this, that you're better than I am. We're talking spike down, spike up, spike down, spike up. Key resistance, obviously, in the mid 40s. I have no idea where they're going to take this. PLRX, what a nice biotech chart. A long downtrend, followed by a massive reversal in May. 396 exploded to 23, six-fold increase. It's been coiling for 2 months, but it broke out Friday. My next target is 28. Plug, beautiful base breakaway gap, run up to resistance, running up a resistance, twice pulled back but held support, and the trend line. Nice move off the low. 24.94 to 30 in the last couple of 3 days. If you get through 31.5, we're looking at mid 30s. Roblox, really a neat company if you take a look at what they do, but from a technical standpoint, long downtrend, 141 down to the low 20s, a V bottom with an explosive move off that low, and then a retest. The trend line broke here, resistance broke there, formed the coil and broke out there, and went up to the secondary resistance and backed off. Look at the reversal this week. I put a new swing on it. My thoughts are 55 and 66. Rocket, another pharmaceutical stock with a V bottom, right-handed extension, breakout platform. Looking for 20. Riot, along with Mara, both ran up, pulled back, and popped after testing their support. It looked promising enough for at least a retest. On this one, 10, 10.5. Rivian, the deal with Mercedes had a nice couple days last week and went from a low of around 30, 30.25. 30.5 is support. We hit 30.70, only to jump 7 points. Finishing 37.55 on Friday. I targeted our retest of 40.5 and then mid 40s. Another solar stock, Sunrun, broke a wedge on Wednesday and popped Thursday, inside day Friday. Here's truly looking for a run that extends to 47. Biotech Revance, what a week. Exploded from 20 to 29.5, finished 28.47. It's at the top of the channel and extended. But if you look at the overall structure, a big breakaway move. I'd like to see a consolidation and then a move into the 34 range. Rhythm, one of the better swings this year. When it broke out there, I put a swing on it. It literally went from under 5 to 27 plus. Now it's flagging. If that momentum can take it further, we might be looking at 38 as a target. Saba, big downtrend. 146 all the way down to 1384. No kidding. But It popped to the declining tops line, pulled back and wedged. Very good week for it last week, moving from 24.40 to Friday's high at 33.50. 9-point run. It's at resistance. Right in that zone. We get through this. We're looking at mid 40s, folks. I would say 44, 45 potential target. Seed up every day last week, 5 days in a row, but small and on low volume. Nevertheless, it's a low volume stock. Large inverse head and shoulders, basing type pattern, obvious resistance, 12.5. You get through that, you're looking at hot stock in the mid to high teens or much more than that potentially if positive news develops. This is very thin. It's a personal position of mine. SGML in the lithium group is probably the strongest lithium stock out there. SGML, Sigma Lithium at all-time highs near 25, my target 30. Sky T was a good swing for us. When it broke out, we put a swing on it. It ran from like 7 3/4, 8 range to 21 and pulled back in a nice orderly wedge. If this pops, I may put a new swing on it. I think it goes back to 20 and then high 20s. Snow, long downtrend. Watch it go from nearly 400 down to 115. Broke out there. I put a swing on it. It worked out and moved up in stair-step fashion over the last few months. Finally peaking out at 205, nearly 80 points or so from where I gave it to you. And then the pullback, the support, and a bounce tells me this isn't done yet. Targets are 205.10 and more. SPWR, another stock in the solar group, breakaway move, rewave corrected pullback. Nice spike last week. The other solars tells me this goes higher. 31 and 35 targets. TAL, inverse head and shoulder breakout. We put a swing on it. It backed off. But from that point, the 349 eventually reached 672, doubling. Now the pullback, orderly fashion, low volume. Next target, 7.5. TAN, the ETF of the solar group, wanted to show you the base breakout, retest, and pop. This one needs to get through 91. The target then is 102. TCDA, a nice uptrend in this biotech stock, having gone from 3.5 to 13 3/4. Now pulled back to test the moving average and support. If it holds, the target is 14 and 17. Alaunos Therapeutics, TCRT, another biotech with a beautiful chart. And you can see that the bottom line is it went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And it feels to me like you got a really strong move to resistance, and it's overextended up in this range. So the bottom line is, let's see if it consolidates any further, and then it goes to the next target, which in my mind would be somewhere around the $6 range. TH, base breakout and a platform. This is a very good looking chart. And should it take out the double top in a 15 3/4, it might be 18 or 19. Support 11.5 3/4. TMDX swing trade acting great, popped out, extended, flagged, and flagged. Mid-channel target, high 60s. TOST long downtrend, breakout, beautiful wedge, and it popped on Friday and Thursday and Friday, I should say. I'm looking for a move into the mid-20s. TRHC, a nice setup, long downtrend, big breakaway move, wedged, popped, and a falling wedge. Keep an eye on it. I would say over 495 range, it could take off with a target of 6 and 7. TRMD, an unusually strong stock in the oil sector, I wanted to show it to you, has gone from 6 to 21. And it looks to me like after breaking out of this base, and it's a 1, 2, 3, 4 with a fifth wave, it could be high 20s. Uber, new swing for yours truly. Long downtrend, breakout, retest, falling wedge, pop. Once and if we get through resistance at 33.5, targeting 37 and 42. VERU. Well, we did well with it here and there, and then again here. But this ran right to resistance near 25, came down very hard. Positive drug news, but they sold the news, dropped from 16.5 to 10 3/4. Held it and snapped right back this week on Friday, closing at 15.57. Very impressive. Now, this is your key resistance. If you see VERU come back over 16.5, buy it for a move to 19 and low to mid 20s. VERV swing trade, Another good one, exploded out of this range. We put a swing on it, I believe, around 20. It made it up to high 30s, pulled back, and then went into the mid 40s, and it doesn't look done to me. Target 55. Volcon, a junior, little junior stock here that exploded on big news and pulled back, then retested and pulled back, reversed, and it's got some sort of inside day here Friday. Keep an eye on this one, targeting 4 and 5.5. YELL, breakaway gap, falling wedge on support. Keep an eye on it. How about this measured move? 5.5 points, folks. And if it does that, we're looking at 11.5 up there as a target. And that comes into where resistance is anyway. Keep an eye on this one, but wait for the move. Zeta, nice chart, broke out, moving averages crossed over, formed the flag, and it's breaking out here. My target on this one, and keep an eye on this one, is up to $10. And big pop on Z-scaler. This is broken a big downtrend, and it's closed right at resistance. Any move here, and this stock could be, $250. Finally, Zixi, slow but steady uptrend. Looks like it broke out of a falling wedge, up every day last week. Any movement here, we're going to see 10, 11.25, maybe low to mid-teens beyond that. And this is a personal position of mine as well. That's it on the long side. I have a few shorts to show you, and we'll finish up today. I'm not enthusiastic about any of these shorts, not yet. And I have a lot more work to do on the short side. I don't think we're ready yet. We'll see. But here's some stocks that are not really responding much to the market. That tells me they're weak. They've been in a downtrend for a while. They barely bounced. Align right. If it fails here, it could really roll over. There's a double bottom around 226.7, 230. I'm sorry, 233.35 is its support. If it fails here and rolls over and takes that out, you're looking at stock in a 180 range. Ambarella, very weak semiconductor, bouncing off a double bottom, but it could fail. And if it does, you might see low 40s. CDNA remains very weak and it's been crushed from 95 down to the high teens and barely bouncing. Next target, 13. FVRR, boy, if that's a bear flag in this kind of a market and it fails here, it's going to collapse. It's 36 and change. I wouldn't be surprised to see them cut it in half from there. GPS, long downtrend. This has been a tech trader swing short for a while. Right here, I believe, when it broke down, bear flag, lower lows, barely bouncing, not impressive at all. We might see the stock in the $7, $8 range. Garmin still remains in a downtrend. I'm not sure why this is so weak, but barely responding to any market rally. If it fails here and rolls over, pretty much the angle dictates a move down in the mid 70s. Gravity, trying to base out here, or is it? Well, it's still in a downtrend. Until this breaks out, a rollover here could be a disaster for this one into the low 30s, mid 20s even. Horizon bounced sharply Friday, but it's still in a downtrend. Pretty ugly pattern, lousy technicals. MED also bounced Friday, like many stocks did, off key support. If it fails anywhere in that range and then breaks support, you might be looking at a $100 stock. NVAX not responding at all and very weak. Next target 21.5, 22. Overstock, any Bitcoin related stock is, I think, vulnerable, although it's got a quadruple bottom now. However, should it take out 25, you're looking at high teens. PNR, bear flag, roll over, retest, and bounce off the double bottom, but it's in a nasty downtrend. Until I see this break out, it could very well roll over and see high 30s. QDEL been in a nasty downtrend for 2 years and is barely bouncing. Of course, if it breaks back out above that, maybe, but if it doesn't, the rollover could take it to low 60s. Robert Half has been bouncing around in this area. It might have broken the angle on Friday. It was up 240 or 3%, but I'm not impressed yet. If it should fail in this zone and roll over, you might see 70. SITM is as bad as it gets, with barely bouncing in this area. Any failure at around the 110-15 range could result in high 70s to low 80s. SSTK already broke this bear flag and barely bounced. Let's just say that's the flag, and it looks pretty ugly. Wouldn't be surprised to see mid 40s. Trex also very tough ugly chart. Down channel there. And you can see that if it doesn't break back out again, the rollover could take you to high 30s. TTEC, bearish since it broke down there. It's been in a bear trend ever since. It really got whacked here, so it's oversold. But any bounce back up towards 57, 59 could be a shorting opportunity to mid 40s. Upwork, not doing much at all. Barely bouncing, although it does have what I would call a falling wedge right there. So I would be careful on this one. Workovia, same thing. It's got a base pattern, but it hasn't broken out. If it breaks down from here, you could see low 50s. And finally, Zoom video. Wow, is that ugly. How about nearly 600 down to the $80 range? And if it breaks here, you're looking at 65, 66. Too much competition in that world, that's for sure. Look at this downtrend. Yikes. You're looking at a potential $50 stock. Pretty ugly. Anyway, that's it for me today. I look at the longs, the shorts, the indices, the technicals underlying them, NASDAQ 100 generals, and a lot of the ETFs that we follow that lead the market. That's it for me today. Please review this video a couple times. You'll find a lot of information in it that's going to be very useful to us trading next week. For now, wishing you a wonderful rest of your weekend. HB out.